It started with a whisper so quiet it almost didn't register, and then it detonated across the internet like a controlled explosion gone wrong. Late last night, a man who allegedly stood closer to Charlie Kirk than almost anyone else finally broke his silence, and what is claiming has people saying this could be one of the most disturbing political scandals in years. Not a rumor. Not speculation. A warning. According to him, there is a report, not a note, not a diary, not loose thoughts, but a detailed, time-stamped document that Charlie was allegedly compiling in the final stretch of his life. And now the question shaking social media is simple and terrifying. Why won't Erika release it? What makes this feel bigger than anything before is who's talking. This isn't a random blogger. This is the man who allegedly handled security, saw the private arguments, heard the late-night panic, and watched trust collapse in real time. And he's now saying the reason the report is being hidden isn't grief, or privacy, or lawyers. It's fear. Fear of what the public would realize the moment they read it. Because according to his claims, the report doesn't just change the story, it destroys it. Screenshots are circulating. Old clips are being re-examined. Cryptic tweets are being deleted as fast as they are posted. People are spiraling, asking the same question over and over. If there's nothing to hide, why is everything being locked down? And the most chilling allegation of all. The security chief says Charlie himself warned him, if anything happens, don't let the report disappear. Now it's gone. Erika won't release it. And the internet is convinced something massive is being buried. What comes next is being described as absolutely wild. From the moment the security chief allegedly decided to talk, the tone of this story shifted from uncomfortable to combustible. According to his account, what the public saw of Charlie and Erika was a carefully maintained surface, and beneath it was a slow, methodical unraveling that almost no one was allowed to witness. He claims the first cracks didn't appear in public at all. They appeared in private routines that suddenly changed. Schedules that were once predictable became erratic. Conversations stopped mid-sentence when certain people entered the room. Doors that were usually left open were suddenly locked. And Charlie, a man known for control and confidence, allegedly began asking questions that sounded less like curiosity and more like quiet investigation. The chief claims it started small. Charlie would ask him to confirm timestamps from security cameras, not in a paranoid way, but in a focused, deliberate one. Who entered through the side gate? Who left early? Who stayed longer than expected? At first, the chief thought Charlie was tightening security due to outside threats. But then the questions shifted inward. Charlie allegedly began asking about movements inside his own home. Who was present during meetings he didn't attend? Who came by when he was traveling? Why were certain visitors never logged on the main schedule? The chief says that's when he realized this wasn't about politics or public safety. This was personal. According to the chief, Erika's behavior changed around the same time. Not dramatically, not in a way the public would notice, but subtly enough to raise alarms for someone trained to watch patterns. She began disappearing during events with vague explanations. She took phone calls late at night in isolated areas of the house. She became increasingly defensive when Charlie asked basic questions. The chief claims he overheard fragments of tense conversations that didn't sound like normal marital disagreements. Phrases like "not now," "he's asking questions," and "this isn't what we agreed on" allegedly echoed through hallways more than once. Each time, Charlie brushed it off publicly. Privately, according to the chief, he started documenting everything. That's when the report allegedly began. Not as a dramatic manifesto, but as a working document. The chief says Charlie treated it like an internal audit of his own life. Dates, times, observations, Screenshots of messages that didn't make sense. Notes about arguments that escalated too quickly or ended too abruptly. According to the chief, Charlie didn't want to believe anything sinister was happening. He wanted proof that he was wrong. But instead, the more he documented, the more inconsistencies he found. The report grew thicker. The tone shifted from analytical to uneasy. The chief claims there were nights when Charlie barely slept, sitting alone in his office with the lights dimmed, flipping between his phone and printed pages. He would highlight lines, underline names, circle timestamps. Once, according to the chief, Charlie muttered under his breath, "This isn't adding up." Another time, he allegedly said something that stuck with the chief long after, "If I'm wrong, I need to know why I feel like this. And if I'm right, I need it written down." That wasn't the voice of a man chasing gossip. That was the voice of someone losing trust in his own reality. The tension at home reportedly escalated fast. The chief claims arguments became louder, sharper, and more emotional. Not just anger, but desperation. On multiple occasions, staff allegedly retreated from shared spaces because the energy felt volatile. The chief says he once heard Erika accuse Charlie of looking for ghosts and trying to destroy everything. Charlie allegedly responded by asking why simple questions caused such extreme reactions. That argument, the chief claims, ended with Charlie storming into his office and locking the door for hours. When he emerged, the report had grown by several pages. One night stands out in the chief's memory more than any other. He describes it as the moment everything changed. According to him, there was a loud crash from the master bedroom, not an accident, but something thrown. Charlie exited the room visibly shaken, pale, breathing unevenly. The chief says Charlie didn't yell or rant. He whispered, "She's not being honest with me." Then he went straight to his office and didn't come out until morning. By the next day, the chief says the report was no longer just documentation. It was a warning. After that night, Charlie allegedly became more cautious. He double-checked locks. He asked for altered travel routes. He kept his phone face up, silent, as if waiting for a message he dreaded receiving. The chief insists this wasn't paranoia. It was fear. Real fear. And every time Charlie added to the report, Erika allegedly became more frantic. The chief claims there were nights she begged Charlie to stop writing, accusing him of obsession. Other nights, she allegedly cried, insisting he was misinterpreting everything. And then there were days she vanished entirely, returning with explanations that no longer satisfied him. According to the chief, the report also began to include names. Not accusations, but connections. People who appeared at odd moments. Individuals who re-entered their lives after long absences. Patterns of communication that didn't align with the official narrative. The chief won't name those individuals publicly, but he claims Charlie was especially disturbed by one recurring figure. Someone from the past. Someone Charlie believed had been cut out of their lives for good. When that person allegedly resurfaced, Charlie's tone shifted from confused to alarmed. The chief claims Charlie confronted Erika about this person directly. Not angrily, but urgently. The response, according to him, was evasive and defensive. Erika allegedly insisted it was nothing, and accused Charlie of jumping to conclusions. But the chief says he saw the impact on Charlie immediately. From that point on, Charlie stopped seeking reassurance. He started preparing for the possibility that something was very wrong. The most chilling moment, according to the chief, came shortly before Charlie's death. He claims Charlie pulled him aside privately and spoke in a tone he'd never used before. Calm. Direct. Serious. Charlie allegedly said, "If anything happens to me, don't let that report disappear." The chief says he asked what Charlie meant. Charlie didn't, and just when people thought the story couldn't get heavier, the chief hinted at something that changed everything. He suggested that the report didn't just document a marriage in crisis. It documented a threat Charlie believed was growing closer. And if that's true, then the reason Erika won't release it may have nothing to do with privacy at all. It may have everything to do with who else is mentioned inside. As the allegations spread, the story didn't just grow louder, it splintered into something far more chaotic and dangerous feeling. What had started as one man's claims turned into a swarm of anonymous leaks, cryptic posts, and insider accounts all feeding the same narrative: that the report existed, that it was explosive, and that someone was doing everything possible to keep it sealed. The internet didn't wait for confirmation. It became the confirmation. Threads multiplied by the hour, timelines refreshed non-stop, and every silence from Erika was interpreted as proof that something inside that document could not survive daylight. According to the security chief's account, the pressure inside the household allegedly intensified in the weeks leading up to the final rupture. He claims Charlie's behavior shifted again, this time from cautious to urgent. The report, which had once been a tool for clarity, allegedly became something closer to a contingency plan. The chief says Charlie began backing up files, printing copies, and separating pieces of information, as if he feared they could be taken or erased. That detail alone sent shockwaves online. People asked the obvious question: why would someone documenting marital concerns act like they were protecting evidence? Meanwhile, Erika's alleged behavior grew more erratic in the retelling. The chief claims she oscillated between calm reassurance and emotional breakdowns so sudden they stunned staff. One moment she was dismissive, accusing Charlie of paranoia. The next, she was reportedly pleading with him to let it go and warning that he was opening doors that can't be closed. Those words, repeated across social media, became a flashpoint. Commentators argued over what doors she could possibly mean. Emotional, legal, political, or something else entirely. Online, anonymous accounts claiming proximity to the family began posting fragments of supposed conversations. Screenshots of unverified messages circulated with captions like, "This explains everything," and "Now it makes sense." None were proven. All were shared relentlessly. One widely circulated post claimed the report contained not just observations, but conclusions, names linked together in ways that implied coordination rather than coincidence. Another claimed the report outlined patterns of behavior that suggested someone else was influencing decisions behind the scenes. Again, no proof. But belief spread faster than evidence ever could. The chief added fuel to the fire when he hinted, without elaboration, that Charlie's fear wasn't abstract. According to him, Charlie believed someone had leverage. Not emotional leverage, but something tangible enough to keep people silent. That single suggestion changed the tone of the entire discourse. This stopped being framed as a troubled marriage and started being framed, online at least, as a power struggle. People began revisiting old interviews, old partnerships, old alliances, looking for signs of hidden influence. Every photo became a clue. Every smile became suspect. Social media chaos reached a new level when a short, allegedly leaked audio clip began circulating. The audio was grainy, impossible to verify, and heavily debated. In it, a voice resembling the chief claims, "If that report comes out, it doesn't just hurt one person." Whether real or fabricated, the clip went viral. Reaction videos exploded. Influencers built entire threads around the implications. Skeptics called it manipulation. Believers called it confirmation. And in the middle of it all, Erika remained silent. That silence became the loudest sound in the room. Supporters argued that she owed the public nothing, that grief and privacy should override curiosity. Critics countered that if the report was harmless, releasing it would end the speculation instantly. The refusal to do so kept the fire burning. Hashtags demanding transparency trended alongside hashtags accusing the internet of harassment. The divide hardened. Neutral ground vanished. According to the chief, the most explosive moment came when he claims he was directly warned to stop asking questions. He didn't specify who delivered the warning, only that it wasn't subtle. That claim sent chills through the online community. If true, it suggested the report wasn't just embarrassing, it was threatening. Commentators speculated wildly about who would have both motive and power to apply pressure. Theories ranged from political allies to former associates, to shadowy figures, with reputations built on influence rather than visibility. As speculation spiraled, alleged celebrity reactions added gasoline to the blaze. Public figures posted vague statements about truth always surfacing, and documents telling stories people don't want told. None mentioned names. All were immediately linked to the controversy. Some posts were deleted within minutes, which only intensified suspicion. In the age of screenshots, deletion became its own confession in the court of public opinion. The chief's narrative also grew darker in this phase. He claimed Charlie began speaking less about betrayal and more about protection, not just of himself, but of others. According to him, Charlie feared that releasing the report prematurely could put people at risk. That framing complicated everything. If true, it suggested the report wasn't meant to shock the public, but to be used strategically, carefully, when the time was right. The implication was chilling. Someone didn't want that time to ever arrive. Then came the rumor that fractured the discourse completely. An anonymous source claimed the report wasn't whole. That pages were missing or removed after Charlie was no longer in control of it. There was no evidence, no confirmation, only repetition. But repetition was enough. The idea that the report had been altered turned speculation into outrage. People weren't just asking for transparency anymore. They were accusing someone of actively suppressing information. According to the chief, that accusation hit close to home. He claimed access to the report was restricted immediately after Charlie was gone, and that longtime staff, who might have known its contents, were dismissed or silenced. He framed this not as coincidence, but as containment. Whether true or not, the narrative stuck. Online investigators began mapping timelines of staff changes, departures, and public statements, treating them like puzzle pieces in a larger design. At the same time, Erika's public presence reportedly diminished. Appearances were cancelled. Comments were disabled. Posts were scrubbed. To her critics, it looked like a retreat. To her supporters, it looked like self-preservation. But the optics were brutal. Every absence was interpreted as confirmation that the pressure was working, or that the truth was too volatile to face head-on. The chief ended this phase of his account with a statement that left the internet reeling. He claimed the report, if released unedited, would force a reckoning far beyond one household. That it would expose relationships people assumed were harmless, and motivations people assumed were pure. He didn't say crimes. He didn't say conspiracies. He said narratives. Narratives that would collapse under scrutiny. That distinction mattered, but it didn't slow the reaction. By now, the story had outgrown facts. It lived in implication, fear, and unanswered questions. People weren't just waiting for the report anymore. They were bracing for what else might surface alongside it. And just when the frenzy seemed unsustainable, a new claim surfaced that pushed everything to the edge. According to another anonymous source amplified by the chief's comments, the report named someone whose involvement would shock even the most cynical observers. Someone whose proximity to Charlie made the allegations impossible to dismiss as coincidence. The name wasn't released. The hint was enough. And with that, the story crossed a line it could never uncross. But the most unsettling shift, according to the chief, was Erika's alleged behavior behind closed doors during this period. He claims she wasn't acting like someone protecting a narrative anymore. She was acting like someone protecting herself. He described frantic pacing, late-night calls made in hushed tones, and moments of visible panic whenever the report trended again. According to him, she wasn't afraid of public judgment. She was afraid of the consequences. That distinction lit up social media. Afraid of what, exactly? And afraid of whom? Then came the moment that many say pushed this story into truly wild territory. A new leak, attributed to someone who claimed to have seen the report before access was restricted, alleged that the most explosive material wasn't in the middle, or the end of the document. It was at the beginning. The opening pages, they claimed, laid out the core concern clearly, naming a person whose influence explained everything that followed. That allegation alone reframed everything. If true, it meant the report wasn't an emotional unraveling. It was a warning from the very first line. The chief, when pressed about this, allegedly didn't deny it. He didn't confirm it either. He simply said, "There's a reason the first page is the one no one has seen." That sentence detonated across platforms. People stopped asking whether the report existed. They started asking who had the power to make its most critical page vanish. At the same time, industry insiders and political figures began behaving strangely. Longtime associates scrubbed photos. Old partnerships were quietly downplayed. People who once spoke freely about Charlie suddenly avoided his name altogether. To the internet, it looked like a coordinated retreat. To defenders, it looked like exhaustion. But the pattern was undeniable. Silence was spreading, and silence rarely spread without instruction. The chief then dropped what many are calling his most alarming claim yet. He alleged that after Charlie's death, the report didn't just disappear into a safe or a drawer. It was accessed, handled, altered. According to him, someone with authority inside the circle had the opportunity to do it quickly, quietly, and without raising suspicion. Someone trusted. Someone who wouldn't trigger alarms by being present. That claim sent chills through even the most skeptical observers. Because it reframed the mystery entirely. This wasn't about an outsider breaking in. It was about an insider stepping forward. As this theory gained traction, a new narrative took hold online. Erika wasn't the architect. She was the pressure point. Influencers and commentators began framing her not as the mastermind, but as the person caught between loyalty, fear, and leverage. Clips of her past interviews were reinterpreted through this lens. Statements once seen as confident now felt rehearsed. Pauses felt loaded. Smiles felt strained. Fair or not, the public had decided something was wrong, and every frame was being used to support that conclusion. Then came the anonymous message that allegedly landed in the chief's inbox late one night. He didn't share it publicly, but he described it in detail. Short. Direct. Commanding. Not threatening violence, not offering negotiation. Just an assumption of obedience. You need to stop. According to the chief, that message confirmed everything he feared. Whoever was behind this didn't see him as an equal. They saw him as a problem to be managed. At that point, the story exploded beyond political circles. Mainstream commentators began cautiously addressing it, choosing words carefully, acknowledging the rumors without endorsing them. That caution only made the public more suspicious. Why tiptoe if there's nothing there? Why whisper if it's all nonsense? The vacuum of hard information was being filled with implication, and implication is the most dangerous fuel of all. Erika's continued refusal to release the report became the focal point of everything. To her supporters, it was proof that the internet had gone too far. To her critics, it was proof that the report couldn't survive scrutiny. Every day it remained sealed, the theories grew more elaborate, more ominous, more convinced that the truth inside was not just embarrassing, but destabilizing to people far beyond one household. The chief ended his latest remarks with a statement that left even seasoned commentators uneasy. He claimed that Charlie didn't believe exposing the truth would protect him. He believed hiding it would endanger him. That reversal shattered the last remaining sense of normalcy around this story. If Charlie feared what would happen if the report stayed buried, then the silence surrounding it now takes on a terrifying new meaning. As of now, no report has been released. No definitive denial has been issued. No full explanation has been offered. Just fragments, whispers, deleted posts, locked comments, and a growing sense that the longer this stays unresolved, the more explosive the fallout will be when it finally breaks. The internet is holding its breath, waiting for one thing. Not a statement. Not a press release. Not a carefully worded explanation.